This video is a walkthrough on how to set up open source cartography on your own machine. So go to github.com, lift cartography, and we're going to follow the developer steps. So under docs, developer guide, and we're going to follow these steps just to get testing working on our own machine. And it says that we need to first follow steps 1 and 2 on the installation steps. So we will do that. And then so we will first get the Neo4j graph database on the server. I'm going to assume that you already have a JVM already running. I don't think you need a JDK, just get a JRE, get a running environment. I'm going to assume that you already have Java on there since most people do, and then there's a link here to do that. So I'm going to skip over that. And then here let's go and get ourselves Neo4j from this download page. All right, and then this next part is really important. So you're going to want to go to community, and under community, do not pick a 4.0 version. Go to this. You want the latest 3.5 version. And so we'll take this thing off of Linux and Mac, since that's the flavor that I'm running. All right, once that starts downloading, we're going to move it into a folder so that we can properly, so that we can access it. So it's still downloading in the background. I'm just gonna go and get my thing ready to go. All right, and then so I've downloaded a couple of others in the past. Here we go. So that's the one. I'm gonna move it into here and then put it in my demo video folder. So okay, so let's go to demo video, and then under this I'm gonna do, let's unzip it. All right, so now we can get rid of our old archive. Cool. So now we have the demo video. Now we have the Neo4j in our folder, and then so what we can do now is go into this. And so what I'm going to do is let's go back to the instructions. So under the instructions we've got so installing Neo4j, and so this is an important note here. You might want to turn off authentication via this property venvs security auth enabled. So we're going to go into, we're going to open up a text editor on conf neo4j.conf, and then we're going to look at this auth enabled. So right here, venvs auth enabled. So it says to disable authentication, uncomment this line. And since this is a test machine, this is perfectly fine for us to do. So I'm going to, so I commented it out, and then so we're gonna get out. All right, now that we've done that, we can go into the bin folder, and then to start the Neo4j graph database on your own machine, just do Neo4j console. So when you do that, it will start up a Bolt endpoint on 7687, and it'll start up the website on localhost 7474. So we're gonna go there. And there you have it. So this is the Neo4j graph database running here. And then auth should be enabled. So let's just do server connect, get me there. And then no authentication. There we go. Okay, there's a new drop down here. So this new version of the web client does it like that. So now we're in the graph database. That's happy. So now that that's all set up, we can go ahead and set up the rest of the cartography tool. Okay, so that's all set up, and then now what we can do is go to the instructions again, and it says here we've got Neo4j ready, up and running. Now let's go ahead and then clone the source code. And then I'm going to clone the source code for cartography in this folder. And to do that, I simply am going to do git clone lift cartography. So I'm going to clone that right here. I think this is how I can, do I do it like this? There we go. Okay, so cartography is cloned over there. And then so now that I'm here, what does the instruction say? So you may find it beneficial to use Python virtual environments or the virtual environment wrapper so that packages installed via pip are easier to manage. I actually really highly recommend using virtual environments because it's very easy to mess up your own virtual environment while playing with this stuff. And yeah, I've messed up maybe about 9 different virtual environments over the past year. So we're going to get into that I'll try to go into that really quickly. For virtual environments, I'm going to assume that you already have Python 3 installed. And what we want to do is use this tool called virtual env wrapper. And for me, I actually don't know what this is going to do because I already have virtual env wrapper installed, but I'm going to do a pip install virtual env wrapper and or pip3 install virtual env wrapper. And for me, it says like all these requirements are already satisfied. So not really much of a big deal. And now the big deal that I want to do is we can do make virtual env. So we're making kind of this new folder that will manage all of our Python dependencies starting from scratch, and so we can install all kinds of packages without worrying about thrashing any old set of packages. So make virtual env and we can call it test. I'll call this one demo video actually. So I'll make virtual env demo video. And then you can see over here that this tells me that I'm working on the demo video context. And the next part is, so if I ever wanted to get onto the demo video again, so I'm going to show that. So we will start off with a fresh terminal. And you notice that there's no thing in parentheses over here, so it doesn't tell you that there's any virtual environment that you're working on. So what we can do now is work on demo video, and now I am in my virtual environment. So that's how that works. Kind of neat. And then so the next thing that I want to show you is we're actually on the virtual environment, and so the next thing is to do what is called an editable install. This is cool. So you go into your cartography path. You see all the source folders and stuff like that, and you do a pip install -e period. And so what this is going to do is this is an editable install where it will install all of this current directory, that period, in editable mode, so that if you make any changes, it will immediately take effect in this virtual environment. And this is really helpful for testing. So I'm going to do that. It's going to do its thing. It's going to try to resolve all the dependencies and then do all sorts of making sure I have all the correct packages needed to do this. All right, now that we've got the editable install going, next step, what do we have? Run from source. So we're actually not going to, you can run this from, we're actually not going to do that right now because I don't have my credentials set up. And then this is going to be the topic of another video, but for right now, I want to show you how you can run automated testing. So we're going to skip over this run from source. We're going to skip over this manually testing Intel modules. I'm going to show you how to perform automated testing. So we'll need to run yet another pip command. And then so the pip command is pip install test requirements txt. So there's 2 separate sets of requirements. So when you did a pip install, it'll install all of the stuff that is listed in setup.py and basically essentially all of these things. And then now under test requirements, like these are the tools that are needed to run our tests. So you do a pip install -r for requirements, and it will install all of the test requirements to your virtual environment. So while it's doing that, I'm just gonna try to look ahead Set up environment variables for integration tests. Yeah, we don't need to be doing, yeah, we already set the auth enabled to false. We don't need to do that because we're going to be working on localhost. That's fine. So run tests using make. Okay, so our make file, we've got like a couple of different make file targets. So if you do a make test lint, it's going to run our linter and then make sure that all of the source files are happy in terms of, you know, how our in terms of like white space and things like that. Make test unit is going to go ahead and run our unit tests, and make test integration will run our integration tests. So these integration tests, what they do is they actually take test data and load it in to your Neo4j graph instance and verify that the expected relationships and the expected nodes were created for every single one of those test cases. This is a pretty powerful way to verify that everything is represented the way that you expect it to be, since it's like really tricky to get the graph working right the first time. So that's basically it. If you want to run the entire test suite altogether, just simply do make test, and then that's just a good sanity check. And oh yeah, another thing too is that when you make updates on the linter, if you make like little updates, just run a make test, and then our test requirements will clean up your white space mistakes and things like that. And so yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell on how to get automated testing working on cartography.